Good Saturday morning to you all. Hopefully you guys are doing great. We got some big news happening out there. We have down south, a major super carrier from the United States Navy is deploying down to the Southern Caribbean, and we all know exactly what that's there for. We got that and more on today's Watchmen Update. We're also going to be discussing butter disappearing. We got reports coming from you guys that butter and unbleached flour disappearing. We got a U.S. air carrier grounded its entire fleet, so all passenger jets across the U.S. for this carrier grounded. We got Japan now preparing for war. We got Canada ticking off President Trump, and there's some major repercussions. And the EU wants to hit U.S. tech companies up for billions of dollars to fund their socialist utopias. And we got a desperate cry for help from North Carolina. Yes, Hurricane Helene victims are still suffering in North Carolina. We'll go talking about that and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates that you guys are sending in. If you have something to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That does get it to the right place. Thank you so much for being part of the Watchmen community. We do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They have been sponsoring these updates for over 3 years. They don't tell me what to do on these updates or anything like that. They just believe in what we do. So if you want to talk to a like-minded, Christian-based company about what you can do with your retirement account when it comes to precious metals, Jonathan and his team would love to talk to you, and there's no commitment in moving forward. Just make sure you mention this channel if you do move forward with them. That way they waive your setup fees. They do that for this audience because we've been with them for so very long. If you want to find out more, there'll be a link at the end of the video, or you can always just Google Genesis Gold Group. Make sure you put the group on the end. All right, big news out there of the day is President Trump has ordered the USS Gerald Ford, the super carrier, the most modern carrier of the U.S. fleet, the only one actually equipped with electromagnetic catapults. That is as opposed to steam-powered catapults. This is now moving down to the waters off Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago. That is a major change. I've been saying this for years. We got this massive military buildup off the coast of Venezuela. It's either a very serious threat or it is preparation for an invasion or a regime change or whatever you want to call it. But I also said that we would not move unless we had probably at least 2 aircraft carriers down there. Well, we've just gotten word that the first one is deploying down to the waters off the coast of Venezuela. The Gerald Ford has been in the Mediterranean, and so it's going to be steaming across the Atlantic for no apparent reason. We got 2 super carriers sitting at dock in Norfolk and doing trainings and stuff like that, qualifications, everything like that, off of the coast of Virginia. Both those carriers are available to immediately steam south, and yet we're pulling our lone aircraft carrier off the Mediterranean and off Europe and heading it down to Venezuela. That kind of makes us start thinking that this is something that may require 2 or 3 aircraft carriers. Just for perspective, when we did our shock and awe on Iraq, we had 3 carriers deploying aircraft. When on previous other situations, when they got super serious in the Persian Gulf, we had 3 carriers in a lot of those cases, at least 2 when we started doing serious airstrikes. So we got 1 is headed that way, and the ones in Norfolk could just put out to sea. It looks like they're doing some training maneuvers, and then they steam south when nobody's looking. It takes approximately 2 days to move from Norfolk down to the operational area around Venezuela. It takes about 3 days to steam from the Mediterranean across. U.S. aircraft carriers can go at least 50 miles per hour. How much they actually can do is a state secret. But we already have 4 destroyers, a guided missile cruiser there, 1 nuclear attack submarine. These are things that we've had admitted or spotted. Puerto Rico Air Force is building up at least 10 F-35s there on the ground, and it's not hard to go from 10 F-35s to 20 or 30 because you already have the infrastructure in place, the repair teams are there to repair the F-35s. They got the spare parts already there. They got the crews and that kind of thing. You can relatively easily scale up more F-35s once you have some on the ground, and I think that may be what we're looking at there. In addition to that, we have the Gerald Ford coming across the ocean, and that is going to be coming probably with its destroyer group, which will be 3, 4, as many as 6 destroyers coming with it. Now, that's going to be refueling problems because, of course, the destroyers need to be refueled, but they can go a fairly long distance, and then they can refuel once they're in the Caribbean. Transplanting them is going to take a little bit of time, so we may be looking at, in a number of weeks, looking at the move at Venezuela. We'll keep an eye on those other 2 aircraft carriers up in Norfolk and see if they disappear. If they do, they may just reappear down south. All right, moving on to other news. New York Attorney General Letitia James to plead not guilty to fraud charges in federal court. Alaska Airlines is resuming operations after an IT outage grounded all of its flights for hours. They've resumed operations yesterday after it had to ground their planes for hours, but no word exactly on what exactly happened. But it was pretty big if Alaska Airlines grounded all of their fleet. New Japan Prime Minister has vowed, she's vowed to take U.S. ties to, quote, new heights with President Trump. Now, we've already seen Japan kind of make some big moves recently. They now operate 2 helicopter carriers. And the word is on the street is that they are going to rapidly deploy more. They're taking destroyers, I believe, and ripping off the top of the destroyer and putting a helicopter platform on top of them and basically turning them into mobile aircraft carriers. They can fly the F-35 vertical landing variant, and that is what they plan on using them for. So most of Asia is probably getting a little bit nervous that the Japanese are basically getting ready for war. She is going to take things to a new level, aiming to increase defense spending to 2% of gross domestic product, which is beyond what most European nations are doing. Japan is preparing for war with China, and that is sorely needed if we do get into a shooting war with China, for us to have allies that are actually serious about defending themselves and not just pretending and waiting for the United States to defend them. President Trump has canceled all of the trade talks with Canada, saying that they are terminated. He should have said fired. Anyway, Donald Trump has announced the immediate end to all trade negotiations with Canada due to some television advertisements opposing U.S. tariffs. And apparently they quoted Ronald Reagan in there. President Trump did not like them at all and felt like the government of Canada is being openly hostile and trying to take cheap shots at the U.S. At the same time trying to get concessions from the United States in the trade negotiations. And President Trump said, no, we're not going to do that. The European Union has accused Meta, or Facebook's company, right, and Instagram and all that, and TikTok on Friday of breaking the European Union's digital content rules, putting the companies at risk of hefty fines. Now, we've seen this time and time again, basically where the European Union comes up with stringent rules on platforms like Facebook and Google and everyone else and Apple, and then basically they just hit them with these massive fines, and it's basically a way of taxing American companies to fund their little socialist utopia over there in Europe. They can't actually create these platforms themselves because, well, that's just the way that is. They don't have the breeding ground for entrepreneurs. They don't have the same kind of tech skill sets, and they don't have the, there's a bunch of reasons why. But they don't have the ability to do it, so therefore they are basically just trying to steal as much money as they can from these tech companies. And President Trump is not having it. Meta supposedly failed these obligations to give The European Union researchers access to their data platforms. So basically all the data that Facebook captures that they really shouldn't be capturing, European Union's like, let us see all that data. Let's see all of people's preferences and what everyone's looking at. And like, we want to see everything. And Facebook's like, no. So an unlikely champion of privacy? I know, I'm surprised too. Brics says, you can have bad people and bad corporations occasionally doing something good. And that's what we have happening here with Facebook. Facebook has more recently started to shift more towards privacy. So I'm a little optimistic, not a lot, like this much optimistic that Facebook's going to protect consumers. But anyway, probably should protect your information if you go on Facebook ever. And if you do go on Facebook, make sure that you understand that everything you do there is being logged, right? And going to some data center somewhere, and it becomes proprietary information owned by Facebook, who they obviously share with the United States military, but you know, that's a whole different story. Brics says Southern Delaware Wawa, that's a store, brand chocolate milk has become horrible. They have done something. Maybe. NT says, I was in Aldi in central Indiana late yesterday afternoon. They had several dozen of their cheaper eggs for $2.23 a dozen. They also had canned corn and canned green beans for 50 cents a can. This is their second increase that they've had on those things recently. Also rolled oats, chocolate bars. It wasn't that long ago that they were all $1.99, and now they're $2.29. Less than a year ago, they were $1.39. So chocolate going up massively in price. We talked about that on this channel, of course. Gooster Dog's mom says, I saw this morning that a farm in Ottawa County, Michigan, has tested positive for bird flu. So that is another one there. And we'll see what happens with that. Alley Cat says Tallahassee, Florida Costco was out of butter. Not just out, but the designated area for butter was gone. Donna says, has anyone noticed that unbleached flour is harder to find? At least at the Olathe, Kansas country store, grocery store that I shop at. So we got unbleached flour and butter. Anyone seeing those things disappearing, or even the areas on the store shelves disappearing? Susan says, I've been going to food pantries for the last several years. In Rhode Island, many have closed. Usually you get 2 bags of food. This week, I only got half a bag. The manager called me over. I have osteoporosis, and they gave me all of their milk, which was 2 cartons. No one else got milk. I thanked her profusely. Just good people watching out for other people, right? The shelves were nearly empty, no produce, no frozen, no meat. And I don't think that they're complaining about that. I think that they're just sharing with us what is going on out there. Hard times for people who are in desperate need, right? And if you're going to be in need, this is not a good time to be in need. And so be watching out for the people around you that are in need. And also do what you can to stay out of, this is not a time to go jump on the safety net, right? Because safety net is not holding people up like it used to. So do what you can to keep your jobs. If you have a job still, feel fortunate about it. If you have some savings and you're working through that, do what you can to keep the pennies stretched. Gary says, I was recently in the Tampa Bay, Florida area for my granddaughter's wedding. Went into Walmart and a few other stores. The stalkers and personal shoppers couldn't speak English at all. We heard a number of that happening around. I would expect that in my home state of Texas, but that was Tampa Bay, Florida. Well, obviously Florida is known a little bit for Spanish speakers as well. Maybe not quite as much as Texas, but Florida definitely has a lot of Spanish speakers too. Some of whom are legally here. But if they have American citizenship, they're supposed to be able to speak English, so I don't know about that. All right, let's talk about North Carolina, friends. A lot of you guys, that's near and dear to your heart. North Carolina and the mountains are also having food bank problems and need fuel for winter when the floods, where the floods hit last year. So last year they were hit by Hurricane Helene, the flooding, devastation up in North Carolina. We used to have a different president last year, if you remember. I know it feels like ages ago, but it's so true that we had a different set of people in the White House, and they treated the people of North Carolina with contempt, absolute contempt. Did not bring aid, and they awful. This is from Joan pointing out Wayne at Deep River Farm. Of course, we partnered up with him before. We talked with him before. Maybe I need to get him back on the line again. But in the western North Carolina mountains is pleading for food, propane, and water for people who grow their veggies over the summer in raised beds, but they now no longer have food. Many families lost their bridges and have to cross streams and rivers carrying propane canisters and water over rocks that are now slippery because the bridges are out. With temperatures dropping down below freezing right now, this is a plea to anyone who can help. As many parents are going without food in order to feed their children there. They are beyond desperate after Helene wiped out their farms, their land, and sadly their homes. So local churches, as Wayne partners with, we got the Midway Wesleyan has been involved in that, Central Global Methodist, Bethel Wesleyan churches, and then of course, if you're of a different flavor denomination, there's other denominations that are working in that area still and partner churches in that area still. But if you don't have any contacts or you don't have any preference there, Midway Wesleyan is a great one to partner up with. If you want to find out more about that, go check out Wayne over at Deep River Farm. Just search for that on YouTube, Deep River Farm. He's giving the most latest updates on what's happening over there and best ways of helping and supporting them, the people in need. So if you want to donate heaters, propane, fuel, food, other supplies that are needed for the folks there in Western North Carolina, make sure you check in with Wayne over there. I'll put the link to his channel at the end of this video too, okay? I think I can do that, or I'll put down the pinned comment as well. 13 months after Hurricane Helene, little has been done to help these communities except by citizens like us, people helping people with hot meals, and those who gave their time to provide. Sorry. Yeah, this channel, when we got together last time, it was getting cold over there. We put together over 200 heaters that buddy heaters that we sent to them. Us, as well as some other channels that hopped in on that to help from YouTube, we were able to send thousands and thousands of boxes to their church, so much so that they got so overwhelmed by that. So please listen to Wayne at Deep River Farm about how is the best way to help so you don't overwhelm them, the organizations and churches working in that area. All right, Teresa says, anyone talking about how much federal Blue Cross insurance is going up? My plan for myself has gone from $289 to $600 per month. My coworker's family went from $500 up to $900. This is crazy. Are you getting twice as much health care? No, you're not. But your prices are going up twice. Retired people, this will be half of their paycheck. But they want free insurance for others coming in from other places, but raise ours. I guess if it is so that we pay for them as well. Americans are being done so wrong. We got a lot of important updates there. So if you want to check out what you can find out more from Genesis Gold Group, there's a link right there on the screen. I'm going to try to put Deep River Farms link right there if you want to go over that channel. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. And Deep River Farm down the pinned comment down below. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining with us. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.